Today on Time About the Movies, it's another one of those weekends where we just got to power through it because most of the movies this weekend are pretty terrible. Tarsem is back with a new film, a movie that's clearly not a ripoff of 300. I don't know where you got that idea from. Immortals with Henry Cavill, pre-Superman, pre-Man of Steel, I should say. But we also have Adam Sandler in easily the worst thing he has ever done. That is saying a lot. Jack and Jill. But Leonardo DiCaprio and Clint Eastwood will try to make amends for a lousy weekend with J. Edgar. We'll see how that pans out as we look at November 11th of 2011. 11/11/11, if you will. Today on Time About the Movies. And welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the three films that make up November 11th, 2011. 11/11/11. This is the only time I'm ever going to be able to say that. So yeah, I am going to say it over and over again. Maybe not over and over again, but you get the idea. Eons after the gods won their mystic struggle against the Titans, a new evil threatens the land. Mad with power, King Hyperion, played by Mickey Rourke, has declared war against humanity. Amassing a bloodthirsty army of soldiers disfigured by his own hand, Hyperion has scorched Greece in search of the legendary Epirus bow, a weapon of unimaginable power forged in the heavens by Ares, played by Daniel Starman. Only he who possesses the bow can unleash the Titans, who have been imprisoned deep within the walls of Mount Tartarus since the dawn of time and thirst for revenge. In the king's hands, the bow would rain destruction upon mankind and annihilate the gods. But ancient law dictates that the gods must not intervene in man's conflict. They remain powerless to stop Hyperion until a peasant named Theseus, played by Henry Cavill, comes forth as their only hope. Secretly chosen by Zeus, Theseus must save his people from Hyperion and his hordes, rallying a bunch of fellow outsiders, including visionary priestess Federa, played by Frida Pinto from Slumdog Millionaire, and cunning slave Stavros, played by Stephen Dorff. Which should be pretty much everything you need to know if Stephen Dorff is one of your big stars in Immortals. But one hero will lead the uprising or watch his homeland fall into ruin as his gods vanish into legend. Blah, 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 blah. It's 300. It's literally produced by the guys who did 300. But it's also Clash of the Titans because that was a big hit last year. And guess what? We got a sequel coming out. So we're going to beat the sequel to that. And yeah, this is a bad movie, man. This is a really, really lousy film. And again, it's Tarsem. I think the big problem is Tarsem. On a visual level, yes, it's incredible to watch his movies, but everything else, from the casting to the action to the costume designs, the production, and mostly the storytelling with the pretentious "ask me what it means" mentality that he had with The Cell. It's not as much bad as that movie was in this, but it's there. And it doesn't help that it is just ripping off 300 because 300 was the big hit 4 years ago and everyone was trying to copy that success, and sure enough, this was being made when that boom was happening, and thus the film we have here is a film that is pretty much what you expect it to be. A movie that is a lip-off, not really that much in terms of action or anything enjoyable out of it except for the visuals, but other than that though, there's really nothing there to this movie. It was largely forgotten when it came out. Well, yeah, it may have been the top movie at the box office, but you never hear anybody ever talk about this movie since because it's a steaming pile of garbage. It's a waste of your time. You're sitting there for over 2 hours while this movie goes on, and there's just nothing of value to it whatsoever. It's a lousy film. It's a boring film. It's just nothing there. There's just nothing in this movie that makes it work. But despite all of that, everything I just mentioned, it is still heads above our next movie, which is a film that you would think is something that there's no way that Adam Sandler could stoop to a low this big. But lo and behold, Jack and Jill is definitely that.
I think Al Pacino wants to play Twister with your sister. Adam Sandler, funny.
Oh, thank God, it was only a bit on South Park. I completely forgot that was something that was completely made up for South Park, and there is no way in absolute hell that a studio would be this desperate and this pathetic to make a movie this terrible, and you know exactly where the joke is coming from.
Jack and Jill, November 11th.
Oh yeah, it's real. It is absolutely real, and it's absolutely the worst thing Adam Sandler has been involved in. Again, saying a whole lot considering the bad movies that this guy has been involved in. But as you can see, Adam Sandler stars in a dual role as the titular twin siblings, Jack and Jill, as well as Katie Holmes playing his wife, and Al Pacino. And it tells the story of an advertising executive who dreads the Thanksgiving visit of his unemployed twin sister, who overstays into Hanukkah at a time when he's instructed to procure Al Pacino's appearance in an upcoming Dunkin' Donuts commercial. Do I even need to say what's wrong with this movie? You pretty much know everything that's wrong with this. This is a movie that is clearly just Adam Sandler given a blank check by Columbia Pictures and saying, do whatever you want to do. We don't care about how bad it is or how lazy it is. We want to get a movie out in time for Thanksgiving, and don't worry about the PG-13 rating. We're going to make sure it's PG so that families can come out and see your garbage movie, because that's exactly what this movie is. Bucky Larson was bad. Zookeeper was bad. Just Go With It was bad. This right here is the bottom of the barrel. This is the absolute worst thing ever. There is no plot. There's nothing about this movie that works. The humor is terrible. The writing is terrible. The cameos are awful. And I know everyone praises Al Pacino for this because, hey, it's something that Al Pacino's not used to doing. But I'm sorry, I don't give a shit. It's not what he does is not funny. Like, I don't care that the Dunkachino thing has become a meme. I don't care. It's not funny. The only people that find that funny are people that find other stupid memes that are not funny. It's not funny. That's the biggest problem with the movie. It's not funny. Nothing about this movie is funny. The gross-out humor isn't funny. The voice that Adam Sandler gives to this woman. If you thought that Whitey was an annoying voice in 8 Crazy Nights, Whitey is gold compared to whatever the fuck he was doing in this movie. This film is such a lousy mess of a movie that has no heart to it whatsoever, that has nothing of value to it whatsoever, and stupid people bought this bullshit. It went on to become a hit. It did become a hit at the box office, and it just, I mean, I have nothing else to say about this movie. It's garbage. It's not funny. Nothing about this is funny. Nothing about this is great to watch. All the characters are obnoxious and annoying. There is nothing of value in here whatsoever. I'm sorry. It's just not funny. It's not funny. Have you got the point yet? It's not funny. It's not funny. So anyway, not much more I can really add to this film. So let's go ahead and try to end the show on a much more positive note with our last movie that we have here, Leonardo DiCaprio starring as J. Edgar Hoover in Clint Eastwood's J. Edgar.
No one, sir.
J. Edgar, rated R. In theaters November 11th.
And sadly, there is not a lot about J. Edgar Hoover cross-dressing in this movie, which, yeah, that's a negative mark against the movie per se. But, like I said, this is the best movie we had this weekend, but considering we had Immortals and Jack and Jill, is that really saying much? I don't think so. Even this one itself is not even that great overall. Written by the guy who won the Oscar for writing the script for Milk, Dustin Lance Black, the film focuses on J. Edgar Hoover's life from the 1919 Palmer raids onward, and stars Leonardo DiCaprio in the title role. You also have Armie Hammer, Naomi Watts, Josh Lucas, Judi Dench, and more notably, Adam Driver in his film debut and a few months before he made his breakout role on HBO's Girls. And as far as one of Clint Eastwood's movies he's directed, this is definitely not one of his better movies in general. It's just, it's not because of Leonardo DiCaprio. The guy is giving it his all in here. And this was back when, he was trying anything to win an Oscar, for a well-deserved Oscar, but nothing was ever coming to him. It only took him 5 years later and getting raped by a bear in The Revenant to essentially have that happen. But the biggest problem with J. Edgar is that everything else about the film, besides Leonardo DiCaprio's performance, falls apart at the seams. The makeup on J. Edgar is terrible. Like, it really is badly put together. The lighting in the movie is very... it looks like it's trying to look like a typical Clint Eastwood movie, but at least other Clint Eastwood movies have that lower lighting work to its advantage. And here it just doesn't work. And there's nothing about the movie that is fascinating or groundbreaking in general, or stuff that we didn't already know about this guy already. Like, there really isn't anything to give this character some weight to him, or it really does feel like Clint Eastwood kind of half-assed his way through this movie. Like, you felt like there was so much left over from this film that could have been so great, and they pushed it off to the side because they just didn't feel like they had anything there to make this worth it in the long run. And yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio's great in the movie, but he does not make but the movie doesn't make itself salvageable just because of that one performance in general. And yeah, he's great in here, but everything else about it just feels like it's begging for an Academy Award, and it's not getting it anytime soon. Like, it didn't even get any Oscars. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio did get a Golden Globe nomination for his performance, but other than that, yeah, this thing came and went pretty quickly. It wasn't a big hit overall. It did decent numbers overall, but the reviews were not that great, and you can kind of see why. It's a movie where DiCaprio really is the one thing that holds it together, but everything else about it, it's just your typical Oscar-contending biopic that isn't trying all that hard, and all it's trying to do is just, give us the Oscar for it. And just, no, they're not going to give it to you no matter how hard you try. So, take that for what you will. But, well, like I said, it is the best of the three movies, but J. Edgar being the best of the weekend, which had Immortals and Jack and Jill, really isn't saying a whole lot, unfortunately. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we'll take a look at pre-Thanksgiving weekend, and, yeah, looking at the movies we have here, it's going to be a little bit better than last week, but even then, not by that much, because the big new release next weekend is, of course, the Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 1, the first part of the conclusion of the Twilight series. Twilight saw how Harry Potter split up its last story and said, well, if they can do it, then so can we. Except Harry Potter had a lot of stuff in that last movie that needed it to be split up into two movies. Twilight does not, and we're going to delve into that as we go along here, as we take a look at that tomorrow. But we also have Happy Feet 2, the sequel to one of my favorite animated movies of recent memory. Happy Feet 2 was one of my favorite. Happy Feet, the first one, was one of my favorite animated movies of all time. And we have the sequel, which is definitely not as good as the first movie, but it's certainly not a bad movie, at least, because at least in this one, there's at least some parts of it that actually stick out so much. They're actually some of my favorite scenes in movies ever made, but we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But we do get at least one good movie, Alexander Payne's latest film, The Descendants, starring George Clooney. So we'll take a look at all three of those movies. That'll be coming up tomorrow on the show, so stay tuned for that. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, please go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification button. And also don't forget to check out the playlist, and don't forget to check out our last episode we did. And stay tuned, because we're starting 1986 up on Time About the Movies Flashback coming up after I post this up, so stay tuned for that. But until then, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.